The holographic transmission flickered to life in the United Earth diplomatic chamber, and honestly, you could practically hear the dramatic music swelling in the background. Ambassador HFY of the Galactic Confederation materialized in all their six-armed glory, their crystalline exoskeleton catching the light like they were auditioning for a space opera instead of declaring actual war. "People of Earth," HFY began, their voice modulated to hit maximum gravitas, which frankly sounded like they had gargled gravel mixed with pompousness. "The Galactic Confederation hereby declares a state of total war against your insignificant species. Your crimes against decency, your violations of proper conduct, and your blatant disrespect for the established order cannot go unpunished." The ambassador paused, clearly expecting gasps, panic, maybe some theatrical fainting. What they got instead was human diplomatic envoy Marcus Chen taking a sip of his coffee, completely unfazed, while checking his watch like he had somewhere better to be. Which, to be fair, he probably did. It was Tuesday, and the cafeteria had Taco Tuesday. "Your primitive civilization has insulted the honor of 17 member species," HFY continued, warming up to their subject. "You have violated Protocol 73 of the Galactic Decorum Standards. You have referred to our flagship, the Infinite Destroyer of Eternal Darkness, as, and I quote, adorable. This transgression demands blood. Well, not blood exactly, since 40% of our member species do not possess hemoglobin-based circulatory fluids, but you understand the sentiment." Marcus set down his coffee mug, which read "Galaxy's okayest diplomat" in faded letters. "Are you done? Because I've got a meeting in 20 minutes, and Jenkins from accounting gets really passive-aggressive if I'm late." The silence that followed could have suffocated a small moon. HFY's eye stalks trembled with what was probably rage, possibly confusion, maybe a bit of both. Did you just ask if I was done? We just declared war on your entire species." "Yeah, I got that part," Marcus said, scratching something on his tablet. "Got a time frame? Because we've got that whole climate summit thing next month, and it would be super inconvenient if we had to reschedule." This, ladies and gentlemen, was why the rest of the galaxy thought humans were absolutely unhinged. To understand just how monumentally the Galactic Confederation had miscalculated, you need to appreciate who they were. This wasn't some ragtag alliance of backwater planets. Oh no. The Confederation represented 47 distinct species spread across 12 galactic sectors, with a combined military force that had peacefully integrated over 300 civilizations in the past millennium alone. They had the Krillians, who could breathe methane and crush titanium with their bare appendages. They had the Vex Collective, a hive mind species that could coordinate fleet movements with terrifying precision. They had the Thornax warriors, who literally evolved for combat and considered peace a curse word. Their combined fleet numbered over 50,000 warships, each one packed with weapons that could crack a planet's crust like a particularly stubborn pistachio. And then there were humans. Species classification, borderline sentient. Technological level, adorably primitive. Threat assessment, minimal to none. Humanity had only achieved faster-than-light travel about 30 years ago, which in galactic terms was basically yesterday. We showed up to the interstellar community like that kid who brings a kazoo to orchestra practice. Sure, we could make noise, but come on. The Confederation had species that discovered FTL before humans figured out agriculture, but here's the thing about the Confederation, they took themselves very seriously. Capital V, capital S. Their warships had names designed to inspire dread across 1,000 light-years. The Infinite Destroyer of Eternal Darkness wasn't even their biggest ship. That honor went to the Harbinger of Inevitable Doom, which was parked just outside the Sol system, looking menacing. Then humanity's first diplomatic vessel approached it, and someone, probably some junior officer who thought they were hilarious, broadcast on open channels, "Oh my god, it's like an angry space narwhal. That's adorable. Adorable. Adorable." The Confederation High Command went from zero to declaring war in approximately 4 standard hours. They'd crush these impudent primates in a week, maybe 2 if the humans managed to hide behind their moon or something. They had superior numbers, superior technology, and most importantly, superior dignity. Spoiler alert, dignity doesn't win wars. But coffee-fueled spite absolutely does. General Patricia Okonkwo stood at the podium in Earth's Strategic Defense Command, staring at a room full of intelligence officers from the 12 Confederation species that hadn't quite committed to the whole war thing yet. They were there as neutral observers, which is diplomatic speak for, we want to watch the carnage but don't want to get blamed for it. Alright people, here's the situation, Patricia began, pulling up a holographic display. The Confederation has declared war. We have approximately 72 hours before their first fleet arrives. A Vlorian observer, whose species prided itself on military efficiency, leaned forward with interest. Finally, these primitive humans would show some proper concern. So, first order of business, Patricia continued, supply chain has confirmed we have enough coffee stockpiled for 6 months of sustained conflict. Energy drinks are at 80% capacity, but we're working on it. Red Bull has pledged to triple production. The Vlorian's facial tentacles went limp with confusion. General, forgive me, but what about ammunition? Weapons? Tactical supplies? Oh, we've got plenty of missiles and stuff, Patricia said, waving dismissively. Jenkins in logistics is handling that. But have you ever tried coordinating a military campaign without caffeine? Absolute nightmare. Trust me, this is priority 1. Meanwhile, 3 decks down, the United Earth Space Navy was having what could only be described as a crisis of cultural identity. The war playlist debate had entered its 3rd day, and things were getting heated. We are not going into battle listening to yacht rock. Commander Davis slammed his fist on the table. Yacht rock is smooth and calming. We need to maintain psychological equilibrium. Lieutenant Yamada fired back. I'm just saying, Chief Engineer Rodriguez interjected, that Fortunate Son is a classic, but it's been done to death. We need something fresh. What about K-pop? An ensign in the corner quietly suggested death metal, and the argument spiraled into chaos. Over in the shipyards, things weren't much better. The engineering corps had spent 16 hours arguing about whether to paint the new destroyers navy blue or a blue that's slightly different but technically navy. Then someone suggested flames, another person countered with racing stripes, and a third absolute madman proposed painting one ship to look like a rubber ducky. The alien observers watched all of this with mounting horror. Do they understand they are about to be at war? A Krillian analyst whispered. I genuinely cannot tell, their colleague replied. Back in the command center, Patricia was wrapping up her briefing. Any questions? A brave Thornax officer raised a claw. General, with respect, your species seems to be treating this declaration of war as a minor inconvenience. Patricia grinned. Oh, it is a minor inconvenience. We've got quarterly reports due next week. That's the real nightmare. The observers looked at each other, a single thought passing between them. What have we gotten ourselves into? Admiral Kroth-Zor of the Confederation Second Fleet emerged from FTL space with the kind of confidence that comes from never having lost a battle. His fleet of 200 warships materialized in perfect formation around Earth's moon, weapons charged, shields at maximum. This would be quick, clean, and devastating. Attention primitive humans, Kroth-Zor announced over all channels, his 3 voices harmonizing in what his species considered intimidating. Surrender now, and your deaths will be swift. Resist, and we will obliterate your pathetic civilization from the cosmos. The response came exactly 4 seconds later, which should have been the first warning sign. Yeah, hi, this is the UESS probably fine. We're gonna have to go with option C, none of the above. But appreciate the offer, really thoughtful of you. Kroth-Zor's tactical display lit up as the human fleet dropped out of stealth. 18 ships. 18. Against his 200. And the names, by the void, the names. UESS probably fine. UESS my other ship is your mom. UESS we forgot to read the manual. UESS bad decision maker. UESS hold my beer. This is your final warning, Krothzor managed, trying to maintain dignity. Surrender or be destroyed. Quick question, came another voice from a ship called the UESS legally distinct. Is your flagship compensating for something? Because that's a lot of guns for such a, modest-sized vessel. The bridge went silent. Did this human just insult the flagship's size? I'm just saying, another human chimed in from my other ship is your mom, our ships might be smaller, but we know how to use them. Not about the size of the vessel, Admiral, it's about the motion of the ocean. Are you mocking us? Krothzor roared. Mocking? No, said Captain Jake Reeves of the Probably Fine. Mocking would be unprofessional. We're just making observations. Scientific ones. For instance, I observe that your formation is tighter than my Aunt Carol at a buffet, and she once fought a teenager for the last dinner roll. Attack! Krothzor screamed. The battle lasted exactly 12 minutes, which was impressive considering the human fleet spent half that time debating what to order for lunch. Missiles away. Also, I'm thinking Thai food, Reeves announced casually. Thai food? Again? We had Thai food yesterday, someone complained over open comms while executing a barrel roll that shouldn't have been physically possible. That was Vietnamese, Jenkins, completely different. They're basically the same. Oh, you did not just say that. That's culturally insensitive and factually wrong. The Confederation ships fired everything they had, and somehow, impossibly, every shot missed. The human vessels moved like caffeinated squirrels, never where they were supposed to be, executing maneuvers that violated at least 3 laws of physics and possibly several laws of common sense. How are they doing that? Krothzor's tactical officer wailed. I think they're not following any doctrine, the sensor operator whispered in horror. They're just doing whatever occurs to them. Meanwhile, humanity's missiles found their targets with frustrating precision. Okay, fine, we'll do Italian, Reeves announced as the last Confederation ship's shields failed. But I'm not splitting a pizza with Davis again. Last time he ate all the good slices. Krothzor watched his fleet retreat in complete disarray, his pride in shambles, his tactical displays showing a decisive defeat at the hands of 18 ships whose captains had spent the entire engagement arguing about carbohydrates. What in the 7 hells were these creatures? The Confederation High Command convened an emergency session aboard the Eternal Judgment, their mobile command station that was approximately the size of Manhattan and twice as self-important. The mood was, to put it delicately, absolutely terrible. Explain to me, Supreme Commander Vexnara said, their voice dripping with the kind of cold fury that made subordinates update their wills, how 18 human vessels defeated a fleet of 200 of our finest warships. Admiral Krothzor, who had considered falling on his ceremonial sword but realized humans would probably make fun of that too, cleared his throats. Supreme Commander, they fight without pattern. Without doctrine. Without sense. They are chaos given form and a propulsion system. They are primitive, Vexnara hissed. We have studied their broadcasts, their communications, their cultural databases. They spend 80% of their time arguing with each other about nonsense. Half their internet is devoted to debates about whether water is wet and if hot dogs are sandwiches. This was, unfortunately, completely accurate. Then we exploit it, suggested strategic analyst Quinn Thor, who fancied themselves clever. Intelligence reports indicate humans cannot agree on anything. Their own military branches argue about uniform colors. Their politicians debate for years without resolution. We attack during one of their disagreements. Catch them mid-argument. They will be too disorganized to mount effective resistance. The High Command murmured approval. Yes, this made sense. Exploit the weakness. Hit them when they were distracted by their own chaotic nature. We send the Third Imperial Fleet, Vexnara decided. 500 vessels. The Thornax Dreadnought Division. The Krillian Shock Corps. We will overwhelm them with such force that their arguing will mean nothing. What the Confederation failed to understand, because they were a civilization that valued order and hierarchy and doing things the proper way, was that human dysfunction wasn't a weakness. It was a feature, not a bug. Humans didn't argue despite being in combat, they argued while being in combat, during combat, and often about the combat they were currently engaged in. Multitasking had been refined to an art form. The research division had spent 2 weeks analyzing human communication patterns and concluded that humanity's constant bickering would be their downfall. They'd identified 17 separate arguments happening simultaneously on human military channels during the last engagement. What they didn't realize was that those arguments had never actually stopped. Humans could maintain a heated debate about pizza toppings while simultaneously calculating missile trajectories. They'd been doing it for centuries. It was practically their superpower. The Confederation was about to learn this lesson the hard way, again. The Confederation Third Imperial Fleet dropped out of FTL space in textbook formation, 500 warships arranged in the claw of inevitability pattern, which had crushed 43 civilizations and looked absolutely magnificent on recruitment posters. Supreme Commander Vexnara personally oversaw this operation from the Bridge of the Eternal Judgment. They would not underestimate humanity again. Sensors swept the area, waiting for the humans to arrive and, presumably, start arguing about something inane. They didn't have to wait long. 25 human ships materialized, and the names had somehow gotten worse. UESS I dare you. UESS not my fault. UESS it seemed like a good idea. UESS according to my calculations, we're screwed. And, most baffling of all, UESS this is fine, which had a cartoon dog surrounded by flames painted on the hull. Human vessels, you are outnumbered 20-1, Vexnara announced. Surely even your chaotic species can comprehend basic mathematics. Oh, we can count, came the reply from Commander Elena Rodriguez of the UESS Organized Chaos. We just don't care. Hey, anyone up for chess while we do this? I'm 3 moves from checkmate against Lieutenant Park. You are not 3 moves from checkmate, that's a completely illegal position. Is not. Your bishop is literally on the wrong color square, Elena. Vexnara blinked all 6 eyes. Are you playing chess? We are about to engage in mortal combat. Yeah, multitasking, Rodriguez said, launching a spread of missiles that somehow curved around each other in a pattern that looked like modern art. It's this thing we do. Check, by the way, Park. That's not check, your knight can't move like that. The battle began in earnest, and the Confederation quickly realized something was very, very wrong. The human ships didn't just move unpredictably. They moved with such spectacular disregard for conventional tactics that it looped back around to being strategic. The UESS Bad Decision Maker performed a maneuver that required shutting down half its systems mid-flight, somehow dodged 300 plasma bolts, and ended up behind the Confederation flagship. Rodriguez to all ships, execute pattern Omega-7 whatever we're making this up as we go. That's not a real designation. Park protested while barrel rolling through an asteroid field that definitely wasn't there 30 seconds ago. It is now. On the Eternal Judgment's bridge, Vexnara watched their tactical display descend into madness. Human ships scattered in 12 different directions, then regrouped, then scattered again. 3 of them appeared to be playing tag. 1 was spinning in circles for no apparent tactical reason, and they were winning. How is this possible? The tactical officer wailed, then it hit Vexnara like a cargo hauler at light speed. The humans weren't disorganized despite their arguing. They were weaponizing their chaos. Every argument, every debate, every seemingly distracted conversation was happening simultaneously with complex tactical decisions. They'd evolved to operate in controlled pandemonium. It was beautiful. It was horrifying. It was completely unfair. Rodriguez, this is Captain Kim on the questionable choices. I'm gonna try something stupid. How stupid? Like, really stupid. Ramming speed stupid. Do it. Also, Park, that's checkmate. It absolutely is not, you moved your queen through a pawn. The UESS questionable choices performed what could only be described as a ballistic drift, using its own explosions as thrust, and took out 6 Confederation heavy cruisers before anyone could process what was happening. 28 minutes later, the 3rd Imperial Fleet was in full retreat. The humans immediately started arguing about how to file the after-action report. We cannot use Comic Sans for official military documents, Rodriguez. Watch me. Vexnara initiated the retreat sequence and wondered if early retirement was an option. Ambassador Zwyxthara stood before the Confederation Grand Council, all 473 members present either in person or via hologram. Their crystalline exoskeleton had lost its luster. Their eye stalks drooped. They had seen things. Terrible things. Honored council members, Zwyxthara began, their voice hollow, I have completed my embedded observation period aboard the human command station. I must report that our entire understanding of this species is fundamentally, catastrophically wrong. Council member Thrace of the Vlorian Dominion leaned forward. Surely you exaggerate, Ambassador. They are simply an unorthodox military force. They consume a stimulant beverage called coffee, Zwyxthara continued, ignoring the interruption, at a rate of approximately 400% above what their biology should tolerate. I watched General Okonkwo drink 11 cups during a 6-hour strategy session. 11. She should be dead. Instead, she was just getting started. Murmurs rippled through the council. But more disturbing than their caffeine addiction is their attitude. Honored Council, they have not taken this war seriously. Not even remotely. I sat in their command briefings. Do you know what they call our invasion? That whole Confederation thing. As if we are a minor scheduling inconvenience. Like a dental appointment or software update. Impossible, Supreme Commander Vexnara interjected. We have deployed over 700 warships. They classified the conflict as Priority Level 3, Zwyxthara said flatly. Priority Level 3. Do you know what Priority Level 1 is? Their annual tax season. They find taxes more stressful than existential warfare. I watched Commander Rodriguez sign casualty reports while eating a sandwich and arguing about whether the new office coffee machine was worth the expense. The council chamber fell silent. During my observation, a human ensign asked General Okonkwo if the war would interfere with their fantasy football league. The general said, and I quote, "Not if we handle this efficiently. They are treating the systematic destruction of our fleets like annoying paperwork that needs to be filed before the weekend." Council member Thrace's face tendrils went pale. This is madness. No, Zwyxthara corrected quietly. This is humanity. They have 37 ongoing internal political debates, 16 cultural controversies, and a scandal involving their Secretary of Agriculture and a decorative gourd. The war with us ranks somewhere between mildly irritating and something to do on a Tuesday. Then what? Vexnara asked slowly, do they consider a serious threat? Zwyxthara's eye stalks trembled. I'm terrified to find out. The Confederation sued for peace on a Thursday, which was unfortunate timing because humans really didn't like doing paperwork on Thursdays. Marcus Chin stood in the same diplomatic chamber where this whole mess had started, facing the same holographic projection of Ambassador Zwyxthara, who looked like they'd aged approximately 40 cycles in 3 weeks. The Galactic Confederation hereby formally requests cessation of hostilities, Zwyxthara announced with none of their earlier pompousness. We acknowledge that humanity is formidable. We seek peace. Marcus blinked. Oh, are we still doing that? Yeah, sure, peace sounds good. Do I need to sign something, or? You accept? Zwyxthara's eye stalks perked up slightly. I mean, yeah. We've got that climate summit next month like I mentioned. Plus the Galactic Basketball Championship is coming up, and honestly, that's way more important than, he caught himself. I mean, yes, we value peace and diplomacy and all that official stuff. The treaty was signed in 14 minutes, which was 13 minutes longer than necessary because the printer jammed twice. As the transmission ended, Marcus heard two technicians arguing in the hallway about whether a taco was technically a sandwich. Some things, he reflected, were truly universal. And by universal, he meant uniquely, chaotically, beautifully human. The galaxy would just have to deal with it. War over. Back to the important debates.